What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Behind Show. Today is December 21st, 2021. We are heading into Week 16 in the NFL, and the Cincinnati Bengals are first place in the AFC North. I don't think anybody possibly thought this was going to happen to begin the season. This is so exciting to be a Bengals fan at this point. I'm going to be talking about, the Bengals game this past week against the Denver Broncos, and who will end up winning the AFC North with only 3 games to go for the remaining NFL teams. So looking at this game here, this was not one of those games the Bengals really didn't play good, honestly. This is one of those situations where you get to win, and that's what is most important, but at the same time, you did not really play well, honestly. Evan McPherson, he got 2 50-yard field goals. To make it a halftime score of 6-3 against Denver. He made a franchise record, a 58-yard field goal to end the half to go into halftime with a 6-3 lead. In the third quarter, McPherson made another field goal. This one was a 26-yard field goal, so it was a 9-3 lead for Cincinnati on top of Denver. And, Teddy Bridgewater throughout this game for the Broncos in the third quarter, he ended up getting injured, having to leave on a stretcher. And backup quarterback Drew Lock came in, and one of his first possessions, he found Tim Patrick, the wide receiver for Denver, on a touchdown to make it 10-9. And when they scored this with 1:15 left in the third quarter. And to me, when they scored, I was very concerned because it's very concerning if you're a Bengals fan when the Bengals are losing at the start of the fourth quarter. When the Bengals are trailing after the third quarter, Zach Taylor is 0-24 as a head coach with the Bengals, and that is a horrendous number. That is a horrible stat. So as soon as they scored, I was already thinking about that stat, already getting kind of nervous about, the odds are not in our favor when it comes to, situations like this, because we've seen it so many times in the past. We saw it the past couple of weeks, honestly, from some of our games as of late, like San Francisco and like the Chargers. And, after we get the kickoff return, we have a play or two, and then Joe Burrow finds Tyler Boyd on an incredible catch and run for Boyd. Sets the Bengals I'd actually score a touchdown on that play, a 56-yard receiving touchdown for Tyler Boyd, one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. It is time and time again, Boyd delivers when we need him to. He is extremely underrated. At that time, it was 15-10, so we go for 2 to try to make it a 17-10 lead. We were unable to get a successful 2-point conversion, so it's 15-10 at that point. And in the fourth quarter, this was one of those games where neither offense really got anything going, but both of the defenses for Denver and Cincinnati both just played pretty well. I don't think it was the offenses for both these teams that were that horrible. I just think defenses really stepped up in this game. And in the fourth quarter, nobody really scored. And with about a minute left, Denver had the ball probably around their own 10 to 15 yard line with minute 15, something like that left. And, the Bengals are up only by 5, and you just get vivid flashbacks of the horrendous play from years ago with Brandon Stokely in 2009, get that 85-yard receiving touchdown to get the win over Cincinnati with 10 seconds left. I mean, you just start thinking about that play, and who knows, it can maybe happen again. Fortunately for us, it did not happen. We were able to stop them on that final drive. We ended up winning this game in Denver 15-10. And, this offense, honestly, for us, just did not get going. If it wasn't for Boyd's incredible catch and run, he was able to go past the defender for extra about 30 yards on that touchdown. I mean, we might not even score a touchdown on that drive. We just could not get anything going. I know I said Denver's defense was good, but you start looking at our offense, honestly, the past few weeks, San Francisco, we didn't do nothing in the first half against San Francisco. It wasn't until about, 6 or 7 minutes left in the game until our offense finally started, going and having some good drives and stuff like that. Even look at, against the Chargers. We had that streak where it seemed like we scored 20 points in just like 8 minutes. It seemed like everything was going great for us. And take away, that kind of time span, we weren't able to do anything on offense. It's one of those deals where it's great to, get the win, but we just did not play good at all. I really feel like this is one of our worst offense performances of the season. Chase only had 1 catch for just 3 yards. Mixon wasn't really great on the ground. We were able to get the win, and that's what matters most at this point. And, about 15 minutes later, once this game was over, the Bengals got the win to improve to 8-6 on the year. The Ravens and the Packers game finished up, and the Ravens actually went for 2 against the Packers. It was 31-30. They would have got it. They would have been up 1 point. I actually like the aggressiveness of John Harbaugh going for 2. I know lots of people hate it because it didn't work, but it's one of those situations where if it worked, that's a great play. It's so smart. But since it didn't, everybody's like talking bad about Harbaugh. Regardless, I think I like the aggressiveness from Harbaugh. I think it was the right move, especially because Baltimore's offense was very impressive that game. But they were unable to get that 2-point conversion, and Green Bay ended up winning. So with the Baltimore Ravens losing that game, as of that moment, the Bengals were in first place in the AFC North. And, yesterday, the Browns and the Raiders ended up playing because that game was supposed to be on Saturday, but it got pushed back due to the coronavirus outbreaks for the Cleveland Browns. And this was another, nail-biter for us Bengal fans, really hoping the Bengals could stay on top of the first place in the AFC North. It was a really close game. Really surprising the Raiders did not play better than they actually did, considering, some of the players out for the Browns. And Nick Mullins, they scored a touchdown with just a couple minutes left to give them a lead in the game, a 14-13 lead. And, Daniel Carlson, he gets a game-winning field goal as time expires to give the Raiders a victory over the Cleveland Browns. And it helps us so much because I wasn't going to do this video until we actually knew who was going to be first place in the AFC North heading into the next following week. And it's so great to see the Bengals first place in the AFC North. It is just absolutely crazy to say that. Did not think this would be happening at all. And it's really interesting because, Cleveland isn't really that good in my opinion. I know they only have 1 less win than us, and they humiliated us when we played them earlier in the season. But they have a hard stretch of games. You look at Baltimore. We play Baltimore this week, and I don't even know what game come even close to the most important regular season game for the Cincinnati Bengals. At least since 2015, like a game in that year, maybe even further back than that. But this week, this matchup against the Baltimore Ravens is so significant because they have prime control of the AFC North. And, in that, Ravens game on Sunday when it took on the Packers, Lamar Jackson did not play because the week prior against the Browns, he suffered an injury. And they had backup quarterback Brett Hundley in that game. You would not know the difference if Brett Hundley played that game or Lamar Jackson. They are like identical. They look like literally twin brothers, and like their style of play, they're exactly the same. They're like facets of the game, their mannerisms when it comes to like play decisions and stuff like that. They are identical. Their play style, their speed, and everything. So regardless of Lamar Jackson plays or not this week against Cincinnati, I still don't think you can take Baltimore lightly because despite me saying they are so overrated, the most overrated team in the NFL, which I still think is true, you start looking at Huntley played great, and they nearly beat the Packers with a backup quarterback. This is still not an easy team to beat, despite us, humiliating them earlier in the year. Nobody really gave us a chance in Baltimore. But it is going to be a great game, this week between the Bengals and the Ravens. I'll kind of talk on that in a later video this week. And but you start looking at some of these final 3 games. I've seen some people talk about the Steelers. The Steelers have no chance of winning the AFC North. Really, let's be honest, they're so overrated. People are only talking about the Steelers because it's the cool thing to do when it's always talked about on ESPN and NFL Network and all that stuff. But when you look at these teams like the Browns, the Ravens, and the Bengals, this is going to be so interesting because all three of these teams still have 2 divisional games remaining. So we'll take at Cleveland first. We'll look at them because they have the worst record of the 3 teams. So with Cleveland's loss yesterday to the Raiders, they are now 7-7 on the season. The Browns actually have a Christmas Day game this upcoming Saturday against the Green Bay Packers. This is in Green Bay. Regardless if this was in Cleveland or in Green Bay, I don't see the Browns winning this game at all. I know the Packers nearly lost to the Ravens with a backup, just a couple of days ago. But this Browns team, they just underachieve, in my opinion. They do not show up in big-time games, but they only show up when the games they're kind of expected to win, kind of against like these crappy teams like the Raiders. And they still really weren't able to do that, yesterday. But I think the Packers won that game. So, okay, that's 7-8 for Cleveland. And then the following week, they have a Monday night football game at Pittsburgh. You start looking at the at Pittsburgh, Heinz Field on Monday Night Football. That is it's a historical and just insane stat that the Steelers currently have. I think they've won over 20 straight home Monday Night Football games or something like that. Something incredible. So to me, I don't think they're going to beat the Steelers in that game. It's one of those deals. Even though the Steelers are down, they're still Steelers. They're still not a team you can take lightly. They're still a football team and a good coach team. So right there, that's 7-9 for Cleveland. So right there, in my opinion, that already takes them out of the chances of possibly winning the AFC North. And then the season finale against the Bengals at Cleveland. This makes absolutely no sense to me at all. The Bengals can go toe-to-toe with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. They can beat the Ravens, who some people say are one of the better teams in the AFC North, by 24 points. They can humiliate the Steelers and, both games, honestly. But when it comes to the Browns, it seems like every single time the Bengals play the Cleveland Browns, they make Baker Mayfield look like an MVP candidate, and it makes 0 sense. I do not understand it. That game we played against Cleveland earlier in the year was pathetic. It was embarrassing. It was just atrocious. So to me, this is one of those games where I feel like it's kind of like every Cleveland game for the past several years. You feel kind of confident if you're a Bengals fan, you can maybe end up winning this game. But at the same time, there's just some mental block that the Bengals cannot beat the Browns. And it's just so weird because you look at about it, and, the Browns have struggled for so many years. And the Bengals, we haven't really been good the past couple of years. But it's despite it's kind of being an equal, lineup and equal teams sometimes, we still can't beat them. It's kind of like years ago when the Steelers were really good and they had Terry Bradshaw and, they won Super Bowls. And they can never beat the Bengals, it seemed like. That's kind of like, couldn't beat the Bengals with Kenny Anderson. That's kind of like us right now with Mayfield. Mayfield is overrated. He is not nearly as good as a quarterback as people think. But for whatever reason, we can just not defeat the Cleveland Browns. I think the Bengals can win this game. It would not shock me if we screwed it up somehow. But I think the Bengals will win this game here. So to me, I'm not being biased. I'm not just saying this because, I want the Browns to lose. Because obviously you want to see the Browns lose to help the Bengals. At the Packers, at Pittsburgh on Monday night, and against the Bengals at home, I think Cleveland has a realistic chance of losing all 3 of those games. So right there, that's 7-10. To me, I don't think Cleveland is going to end up winning the division. So let's go down to Baltimore. Like I said earlier, at Cincinnati, this is the biggest game of the season for the Bengals as of this year. This is the biggest game in the Bengals regular season. I don't even know how long. This is a huge game for the Ravens. We don't know if Lamar Jackson is going to play as of now or not. So that's going to be a big question mark heading into this week against Baltimore. Also, with Logan Wilson, he's already pretty much been announced out. There's a chance Joe Mixon might not play this game. That is going to kill us. I've been so confident that the Bengals are going to win this game for months. I've been talking about it constantly. I keep on saying the Bengals will beat them. The Ravens are overrated. I still think the Ravens are overrated. the Bengals' injuries with Logan Wilson is a gut punch. When he got hurt, a couple weeks ago against the Chargers, and you really saw the effects of that when the Bengals played the San Francisco 49ers, and George Kittle had a career day because we don't have a good cover linebacker if Logan Wilson is not out there on the field. I know Jermaine Pratt had a good game this past week against the Broncos, but they don't have that star tight end like the 49ers, like we've already played. They don't have a star tight end like we play the Baltimore Ravens this week and Mark Andrews. And to me, the Logan Wilson injury is really what, defines this game, honestly. With Mixon, if he's hurt and if he can't go, that is another, gut punch for us, honestly. This is really a toss-up. I don't want to change my mind because I keep on saying the Bengals are going to win. I would not be surprised if we lost. But I don't want to just jump ship and take Baltimore in this game just because of Logan Wilson's injury. I'm going to say the Bengals here in an upset win. Another pick to win as of right now by 2.5. I think that's going to change quite a bit once it's announced if Jackson will play or not. So let's say the Bengals do end up winning this game. That's 9-6. Let's say the Baltimore Ravens end up losing this game. So that's 8-7 for them if they lose to Cincinnati this week in Cincinnati. It's 8-7 on the season. Their final two games are the Rams at home and the Steelers at home. The Rams have one of the best rosters in the NFL, but there's been times where they've been very inconsistent. I don't think the Ravens win this game. Honestly, I just do not think the Ravens can match up with some of these top-tier teams in the NFL, like the Buccaneers, like the Rams, some of these other teams. So that's 8-8. The final week of the regular season, they end up playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they end up winning that game, so that's 9-8. Which, you start looking at Cleveland. Cleveland's 7-10. Baltimore's 9-8. If you're Cincinnati, you win 2, you're in. And I keep on telling people that we don't need to win all 3. We need to win 2. That's what's most important. It's 1 week at a time, 1 game at a time. But if we can just win 2 out of these 3 games, you have a very, very, very good chance of winning the division. So let's take a look at the Bengals, schedule throughout the rest of the season, the final 3 games. So we're 8-6 right now, and we have the home game against Baltimore this week. I've already kind of mentioned I'll take the Bengals in this one. It could really go either way. I would not be surprised if we lost. I would not be surprised if we won. It's honestly really a coin flip. I'll take Cincinnati in this one, so that's 9-6. The Chiefs at home. The Chiefs are at a hot streak right now. I believe they won 6 straight games. They are probably the best team in the NFL right now, despite it might not show record-wise, but how good they've played as of late. They are on fire. They had a really good game against the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. I think the Bengals lose that game. So that is, let's see here, that is 9-7. So that's 9-7. And then the game against Cleveland, at Cleveland to finish out the year, I think the Bengals win that game and go 10-7. It's very interesting because I think we can beat Baltimore, but even if we beat Baltimore, we still have to beat one of those 2 teams between the Chiefs and the Browns, which is not an easy task because the Chiefs are on fire recently, and like I already kind of mentioned, this is at Cleveland, and we cannot beat the Browns. We make Mayfield make him look like he's Aaron Rodgers or something. So, we do have control once we beat Baltimore, but at the same time, we still have to beat another one of those teams, whether it be the Chiefs and the Browns. And it's crazy because you look at this final 3 games for the Bengals, which is a very tough final 3 game stretch between the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Browns. Honestly, you look at these 3 teams who have a chance to end up winning the AFC North. The Bengals probably have the easiest schedule of the 3 because Baltimore plays at Cincinnati, the Rams, and Pittsburgh, and then Cleveland plays at Green Bay, at Pittsburgh on Monday night, and against Cincinnati at home. So it's because you look at Cleveland and Baltimore, all 3 of these teams are playing teams who are over 500. We're playing, the Browns who are 500. It's going to be a very interesting final 3 game stretch for all 3 of these AFC North division teams. Hopefully the Bengals can, end up winning the division. And there's a couple questions that got asked here, on Instagram. Kind of with these next final 3 games and, what's going to happen with the Bengals in the next few weeks. This was from _AAEE_. When do you think Logan Wilson will play? I don't think he's not going to play this week. They've already kind of announced it. I don't think he plays next week. If he plays, I think it might be against Cleveland. The fact that they've already kind of ruled him out on Monday, the day after their game against Denver, is not a good sign at all. And also, it was announced a couple of days ago that Joe Bachie is out for the season. I know a linebacker for us who was kind of called up and had a starting role once Wilson went down. So, our linebacker core is super, super thin right now. If Wilson plays this season, I think it'll be the final game of the year. But I feel like if we are out of playoff contention, like if we lose against Baltimore and the Chiefs, he might not even play just to be on the safe side. Hopefully he does play because, he has probably been our best defensive player this year aside from Trey Hendrickson. A couple other ones here. Let's see. This is from _Chris_Kuhn. It would be super hard, but if we went out, do you think we'll get a bye? There's no chance the Bengals get a bye. You start looking at these teams like the Chiefs and the Patriots. The Chiefs would have to lose 2 games. And if you look at the final 3 games, aside from us, they have a very, very easy schedule. And you start looking at the Patriots. They have, I believe, 5 losses right now. I don't think they might lose 1 game, but I don't think we can jump the Patriots when it comes to the overall record. There's actually a chance, depending how these other 3 divisions go, their top teams like the Chiefs, Patriots, and Titans. There's a chance, depending what their records are the final 3 games of the season, we could win out and still possibly end up getting the 4th seed, which is just kind of crazy to me. But let's see here. There's a couple other ones. Right now, what do you think the Bengals' percentage of making the playoffs are? That's from Wyatt MC18. I would say about 50. I think we'll end up beating the Ravens, I think we'll beat the Ravens or the Browns. I feel very confident we're going to beat at least one of those teams. The other one is just kind of a coin flip, honestly. It's like you think you can beat the Browns, but you don't know if you actually will because you proven time and time again you think you can, but you can't finish the job against Cleveland. And then with the Ravens, you've already done it once. It's very hard to beat a team twice in the NFL. I would say 50. I don't think we're going to beat Kansas City, but we have to beat both Baltimore and Cleveland to get in. I would probably say 50% on us possibly going to the playoffs. This is from RMS Pro 100. These are all from Instagram. Could the Bengals still make the playoffs if we beat Baltimore and Cleveland? Yes, if we beat Baltimore and Cleveland, it's more than likely like we're for sure going to end up winning the AFC North. Because, so if we have 2 wins and 1 loss at that point, that's 10-7. Baltimore would also be, let's say if they, go 2-1 and their only losses against us, they're also 10-7. So right there, we already have that. We have the same record, but we had the head-to-head. We beat them both games and a better divisional record as well. So we would get the, AFC North title if that were to be the case. And us beating Cleveland, even if Cleveland goes 2-1, that would be 9-8. So we would already have a better overall record than them as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see if the Bengals can pull off, this victory this week against Baltimore. Very, very difficult final 3 games for Cincinnati. Hopefully they can end up winning the division for the first time since 2015. It's very crazy to not think this would be happening. We're going to go on Christmas morning. The Bengals are going to be first place in their, in the AFC North. Nobody thought that was going to happen. Cannot wait. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you all next time on the Sports Behind.